Buckle up, everyone, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of satellite internet.
Yeah.
And a rivalry that's straight out of a tech thriller. We're talking Elon Musk
Oh, yeah.
versus Mukesh Ambani,
A clash of titans.
battling for control of India's internet future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might be thinking, why should I care about what's happening in India?
Right.
Well, here's why. Almost half of India's population,
Wow.
that's over 1 billion people,
That's a lot of people.
still don't have reliable internet access. And this fight could determine how and if they get connected.
And it's not just about India. This has global implications. We're talking about the future of the internet itself.
Exactly. So let's break it down.
Let's do it.
First, we've got to understand the fuel that powers this whole internet engine. We're talking about spectrum.
Spectrum? Yeah.
It's the lifeblood of the internet.
It is.
And how a country like India decides to allocate it
Right.
has ripple effects that can be felt worldwide. Now, traditionally, spectrum's been auctioned off to the highest bidder, which is the global norm.
Yep.
But India's doing something different.
They are.
They're shifting toward administrative allocation,
Oh.
which means the government gets to decide who gets what.
Okay.
This move has set the stage for this epic clash between Musk, who's all about those open auctions, and Ambani, who seems to be favoring this new administrative approach.
Interesting.
Now, to understand why Ambani might be pushing for this shift,
Right?
we need to look at what he's already built. His company, Reliance Jio, has poured billions into building out terrestrial networks
Okay.
all across India.
So he's got a huge advantage.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if India moves away from auctions,
Yeah.
it could give him a massive edge
It could.
over Musk and Starlink, essentially blocking them from entering the India market.
Interesting. So he's playing the long game.
He is. But let's not forget about Elon Musk. He's not known for backing down from a challenge.
Oh, no.
And he's already fired back on social media
Oh,
with his signature wit,
yeah.
and even hinted at calling Ambani directly
Wow.
to try and work things out.
That's bold.
It is.
So we've got these two titans going head to head.
Right.
But there's also this international dimension to consider.
Absolutely.
There's a global body called the International Telecommunication Union.
Right. The ITU?
The ITU, exactly.
Okay.
And they've designated specific spectrum bands specifically for satellite use.
Yeah.
So India's move toward administrative allocation in those bands.
Right.
Well, it could raise eyebrows
It
on
could.
the international stage.
Yeah, it's like they're changing the rules of the game
Sure.
and not everyone's happy about it.
Right.
But wait, there's more.
Right.
It's not just Musk and Ambani in this fight.
Oh.
Enter Sunil Mittal,
Yep. Okay.
chairman of Bharti Airtel,
Right.
India's second largest telecom operator.
Got it.
He's also thrown his support behind auctions,
Interesting.
which is curious
Yeah. Why would he do that?
because both Airtel and Reliance Jio, they already dominate the Indian telecom market.
But they do.
So why rock the boat?
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Well, some experts suggest that these telecom giants,
Okay.
they're actually afraid of disruption. They see Starlink with its ambitious plans and Musk's relentless drive as a threat to their comfortable duopoly.
So they're trying to protect their turf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Satellite internet could offer a real alternative
Yeah.
to their networks,
Okay.
especially in those vast rural areas
Yeah.
where terrestrial coverage is still spotty.
Makes sense.
It's like a new sheriff's come to town,
Yeah.
and the old guard's a little nervous.
It's a classic power struggle.
It is. But before we get too deep into the drama,
Right.
let's take a closer look at the key players.
Okay. Sounds good.
Starting with Elon Musk and his Starlink project.
Right.
They've already got millions of users in over 100 countries,
Wow.
beaming internet down from this massive constellation of low Earth orbit satellites.
Yeah.
But how does that approach
Yeah. How does...
differ from what Ambani and SES are doing?
Well, that's a key difference.
It is.
Starlink uses these low Earth orbit satellites, or EO satellites.
Okay.
And they're much closer to Earth
Right.
than traditional satellites,
Okay.
which means lower latency.
Lower latency. Okay.
Or, in simpler terms, less delay in data transmission.
Oh, okay. So it's like a faster connection.
Exactly.
It's like the difference between having a face-to-face conversation
Right.
and talking on a phone with a slight delay.
Yeah, exactly.
That little lag can be super frustrating,
It can be.
especially for things like video calls.
Definitely. Or online gaming.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want any lag when you're gaming.
Absolutely not.
Now, Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Jio,
Yeah.
they've partnered with SES,
Okay.
a company that operates satellites in medium Earth orbit.
Okay, so MEO.
MEO, that's right.
Got it.
These orbits are higher, which means they need fewer satellites to cover a large area.
Okay, so fewer satellites.
Fewer satellites.
But they're further away.
But they're further away.
So there's a trade-off there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get wider coverage, but potentially higher latency.
Exactly.
And this all comes down to cost.
Fred asked, yes.
Launching and maintaining a constellation of satellites is a pretty penny.
Yeah, it is.
So how can Starlink, with its focus on low Earth orbit and potentially lower latency, compete in a market like India, which is known for its super low-cost data plans? I mean, India has some of the cheapest mobile data rates in the world.
It does.
Something like 12 cents per gigabyte.
12 cents a gigabyte. That's crazy.
It is.
So can Starlink even compete?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Maybe the billion-dollar question.
Maybe the billion-dollar question.
In this case.
India's price-sensitive market?
Right.
It's a challenge for Starlink.
Yeah.
Even with the price cuts they've made in other places like Kenya and South Africa.
It's a whole different ballgame.
So we've got price wars brewing. Disruptive technologies entering the game. A battle for literally billions of users.
It's huge.
It sounds like we're just getting started.
We are just scratching the surface.
What else is at play here in this struggle? For dominance in the Indian internet market.
That's what we'll unpack next. So we're talking about potentially connecting 1 billion people to the internet for the first time.
1 billion people, it's hard to even fathom that number.
It is.
And it's not just about giving them access to Facebook or YouTube.
Right, it's much bigger than that.
We're talking about unlocking opportunities for education.
Yes, absolutely.
Healthcare, economic growth, the whole 9 yards.
It's about empowering people.
Exactly. Imagine a village in rural India. Suddenly able to connect with the rest of the world.
Right.
Farmers could access real-time weather data. Students could take online courses from top universities. Small businesses could reach customers globally.
The possibilities are endless.
It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
It really is. But of course, there are challenges too.
Oh, definitely. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cost.
Right. Affordability is a huge factor.
Especially in a market like India, where people are used to incredibly cheap data plans.
Exactly. And even with Starlink's recent price drops, it's still significantly more expensive than traditional broadband in many areas.
So how can they make it work? Can they really compete on price with those established telecom giants?
Well, Musk is known for being a bit of a disruptor. He might be willing to take a loss initially to gain a foothold in the market.
So a price war could be on the horizon.
It's certainly a possibility, but there's also the issue of sustainability.
Right. How can they keep those prices low in the long run? Especially when you consider the massive cost of launching and maintaining all those satellites.
That's the billion-dollar question. An EY Parthenon report from earlier this year found that Starlink's operating costs are almost 10 times higher than those of major Indian broadband providers.
10 times higher. That's a huge gap to bridge.
It is.
So without some kind of government subsidies or other support, it seems like an uphill battle for Starlink.
It won't be easy, that's for sure. And remember, those lower operating costs for terrestrial providers are partly due to their existing infrastructure and economies of scale.
Right, they've already invested billions in building out their networks.
Exactly. So Starlink is essentially starting from scratch in India.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but the entire ecosystem that supports it.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, let's zoom out a bit and talk about India's decision to move away from spectrum auctions and towards this administrative allocation model.
The controversial move?
It is. And it's sparked concerns among some international observers because it deviates from the global norm of using auctions to ensure a level playing field.
Yeah. Auctions are generally seen as the fairest way to allocate spectrum.
Right. So why is India going in a different direction?
Well, there are a few possible explanations.
Okay, let's hear one.
Some experts suggest that it could be a way for the government to exert more control over the telecom sector.
Okay, so more control for the government.
Others argue that it could be an attempt to speed up the rollout of 5G and other next-generation technologies.
So faster deployment of new technology.
Exactly.
But whatever the reason, it's a move that's being watched very closely by the rest of the world.
It is. And it could have ripple effects on the global satellite internet market.
Right. If India, one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies, starts doing things differently, other countries might be tempted to follow suit.
Exactly.
And that could impact investment, innovation, and competition in the satellite internet space.
It's a big deal. So this isn't just about connecting rural India. We're talking about potentially setting a precedent for the future of the internet globally.
Wow, that's a lot of weight on India's shoulders.
It is, and that's why this whole situation is so fascinating.
It's like watching a high-stakes poker game unfold in real time.
Exactly, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
All right, so we've talked about the geopolitical chess match, but let's get back to the technology for a minute.
Sounds good.
We've mentioned Starlink's low Earth orbit satellites and SES's medium Earth orbit satellites.
Right.
Can you break down the pros and cons of each approach? What are the key trade-offs?
Sure. So the main trade-off is between coverage and latency.
Okay, we've touched on that before.
Right. Starlink's LEO satellites, because they're closer to Earth, offer much lower latency.
So faster speeds and a more responsive internet experience.
Exactly. This is especially important for things like video conferencing, online gaming, or any application where real-time interaction is crucial.
So if you're a gamer in rural India, Starlink might be your best bet for a lag-free experience.
Exactly. But the downside is that LEO satellites have a smaller coverage area.
So you need more of them to cover the same area as a few MEO satellites.
That's right. Which is why Starlink has launched thousands of satellites already and plans to launch thousands more.
And each launch is a significant expense.
It is. So even if Starlink can offer competitive prices initially, the question is whether they can sustain that over the long term.
Right. As they continue to expand their constellation and face competition from other satellite internet providers.
Exactly. Now, MEO satellites have the advantage of wider coverage.
So you need fewer of them.
Right. Which can translate to lower launch and maintenance costs.
But the trade-off is higher latency.
That's right. So choosing between LEO and MEO is all about finding the right balance between speed, coverage, and cost.
It's like a seesaw.
Yeah, exactly.
You push down on one end and the other end goes up.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Absolutely. And as the satellite internet market continues to evolve, we'll likely see a mix of different approaches.
Okay, so a mix of LEO, MEO, and maybe even geostationary satellites.
Right. And the best approach will depend on the specific needs of each market and the applications being used.
So it's a toolbox with different tools for different jobs.
Exactly.
And as the industry matures, we'll see which tools work best for which tasks.
Right. But ultimately, the goal is the same.
To connect everyone to the internet, no matter where they are.
Exactly.
And that's a goal worth striving for.
Absolutely.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, let's shift our focus from the technical aspects to the human impact of this battle for the skies above India.
The human impact, yeah.
What are the potential benefits and challenges for the people on the ground?
That's what we'll explore next.
We've talked about the players, the tech, the policies.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
this is really about the people.
It is.
The billion people in India who are still waiting for that reliable internet connection.
Right.
What does this battle for the skies above?
mean for them.
Well, for many people,
Yeah.
it could be life-changing.
It really could. Yeah.
A student in a remote village suddenly able to access online courses.
Yeah.
Or a doctor in a rural clinic using telemedicine
Right.
to consult with specialists in cities.
It's incredible.
It's breaking down barriers.
Breaking down barriers, exactly.
And it's not just about healthcare and education.
Right.
Think about the economic opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
A small business owner
Yeah.
in a remote area
Mm-hmm.
could suddenly reach customers around the world.
It's empowering.
Empowering, exactly.
But of course, we have to talk about the challenges too.
We do.
Cost being a major one.
Absolutely.
Even with competition. How do we ensure
Yeah, how do we...
that satellite internet is
Okay.
actually affordable?
Affordable for everyone?
For everyone, yeah.
That's where governments come in.
They do.
Policies that encourage investment,
Yeah.
promote competition,
Right.
and make sure those low-income communities
Yes.
aren't left behind.
Not left behind. It's about using this technology
Right.
to uplift communities,
Yeah,
not just line the pockets of corporations.
absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to remember this isn't just about technology.
It's not.
It's about people.
It is.
It's about connecting people,
Yeah.
empowering people,
Yeah.
and ultimately
Yeah.
creating a more equitable world.
A more equitable world, exactly.
And that's something worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
So what are your final thoughts?
You know, after this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm really struck by the magnitude of what's at stake here.
Yeah. It's huge.
This isn't just a business competition.
No,
It's a battle for the future.
it is.
And the future of the internet is being written right now.
It is.
High above our heads.
High above our heads.
It's pretty inspiring.
It is.
So to everyone listening out there,
Yeah.
keep looking up.
Keep looking up.
The future is in our hands.
And thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.